Hey there, berries. Welcome to the 26.1 patch notes, in which I'm going to be heavily focusing on support things. Now, I generally know an outline of what's in these patch notes, but this is going to be like more like a first impressions in terms of we're going to kind of go through it together, while primarily focusing on support slash kind of like the bot lane situation. We will cover big changes to overall roles as well, just so that we can have a grasp of what's actually coming new to season 2026. So a slightly different take of how I used to do the tier lists, if you and things like that. If you watched me like last year or the year before, this is going to be like I'm going to go through it. I'm going to give my reaction to the stuff. And how I feel that supports are going to be looking like. And then probably a week after from this, I'll do an actual kind of tier list once I've gone through some games, been through some champions, kind of seeing what the overall situation is like. Because there's quite a few potential game-breaking changes to different roles that could make it so that different supports are better in certain situations. So it's gonna take a few days of actually playing the patch before I'm gonna like go and say like, okay, this is for sure. But I'll have inklings as we're going through it. So let's get started. So 26.1. If you aren't aware of a lot of the things already, they're basically adding quests to League. So you're probably familiar with the support quest that we have when we load into the game. Jungle also has that jungle quest when they load into the game and they're forced to take smite. Just realised my camera is flickering. Let me just put on some extra light. There we go. Better. But now top, mid, and AD carriers are getting extra quests. This is basically meant to kind of encourage people to stay in their lanes instead of roaming around as much. And this once again is potentially going to affect the support role a little bit. So let's have a look. So role quests, that's kind of what I was mentioning. Basically, you're going to get given quests to try and cater towards your role. But as I said before, the support one is going to be pretty much the same as it's always been. So if you're already a support main, all you have to do is like last hit minions or hit champions when there's someone near you, and then you'll generate that gold to help unlock the quest. Now for the AD carry, basically your AD carry may want help more than before. If you were like someone who roamed a lot as support, you might actually be hindering your AD carry from carrying out their quest, which will then get them aggravated and then, you know, might start flaming you because you're used to maybe roaming more than what you are usually. So the rundown here, the main thing I want you to take note on here is this paragraph here. For top, mid, and bot lane players, you'll earn points for champion takedowns, epic monsters, minion kills, turret plates, turret takedowns, and you'll get some passively over time. Minion, turret, and plate rewards are doubled in your assigned lane, and mid laners will also progress by dealing damage to champions. So I think that's to help encourage still for mid laners to roam around a little bit. So if they do damage to champions, they're still contributing to their quests. But for top and AD carry specifically, them moving out of their lanes before they've completed their quest is going to hinder them a little bit. So another one thing also is like plate rewards could become more valuable in bot lane. You might see a rise to double poke lanes, for example, in order to get turret plates earlier, in order for your AD carry to complete the quest a bit quicker too. So we'll see about that and how that turns out. So in terms of top lane quests, just brief rundown is that it's going to allow them to hit level 20. Once they complete the quest as well, they're going to get XP and they're going to get bonus XP on everything. Every single top laner now will have teleport. If they already have teleport as a summoner, they get an enhanced teleport. So they're either going to have 3 summoners, which is kind of mental. So they're going to have teleport basically no matter what. They've already got teleport, then they're going to get enhanced teleport basically. So top laners are going to be roaming a little bit more as the game progresses. Jungle. Jungle is basically their smite damage has been increased slightly here. And they get a little bit more movement speed in the jungle, and they get more money from killing large monsters. Nothing too crazy there, because they've already got the jungle quest. And I think I've been invited to a league game, which I'm not going to accept. Mid lane, they're getting boots. So feats are being taken out of the game, and so is Attican. So the feats that you might have been used to from season 2025 are basically being moved into mid lane and are much more powerful now this time. So basically, you know, you look for this if you're a mid laner and you want to know. But basically, you're going to get more bigger boots. They're going to do more, give you more stats than what the other your from the feats before. So I don't know how that's going to work with Cass. Maybe there's the thing that mentions it, but basically Cass isn't allowed to buy boots, so I'm not sure how that's going to affect her exactly. But there seems to be lots of interesting little boots upgrades there for mid laners, which I'm not going to go into. Now your AD carry. Golden experience from minions reduced by 25% outside of bot lane until level 3. That's kind of a similar thing across the other roles as well. You get reduced XP and gold if you're not in your lane pre-level 3. I think it's to stop like people massively ganking a lane as the lane's cheesing lanes and stuff like that. But basically, once this AD carry quest is completed, they get 300 gold. They're going to get extra gold per minion forever, plus 50 gold forever. And also they get a 7th item slot. So AD carry is super late game. Same with top laners as well. Should have a very clear in terms of like AD carry is allowed 7 items. They're going to do ridiculous amount of damage, and or they're going to be like doing as much as damage before, but they've got like an extra defensive item on top of it. So yeah, can imagine it's going to be potentially a little bit crazy if the games go on that long though, right? The support role is probably the most disappointing out of all of them. Basically, Riot has essentially said, well, the supports already have the quest, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So basically they've said, well, they're gonna nerf the gold generation after you've completed the quest. So down from 5 gold per 10 down to 9 gold per 10. But control wards are cheaper. Wow. And then afterwards you get to put those 2 control wards. So kind of like the wardstone. I'm assuming wardstone's getting removed. I haven't actually checked. Kind of like how wardstone works. You could put like control wards inside the wardstone, so you have like you're able to buy control wards and have like stats associated. These control wards are going to be in a separate bag slot, and they're going to be cheaper. So yeah, yay supports. I think overall this is a nerf. This is like the only role that basically is getting nerfed essentially, because if you're thinking about it, right, the gold that you're getting, you're forced basically to buy control wards no matter what, which I mean, as a support you are meant to do. The other roles should also be buying control wards anyway, but you're losing 1 gold per 10 when what you could be spending on other stuff. Basically, we're not really getting anything on, like, this is once again like a super late game kind of thing where, okay, we'll have an extra slot to put those control wards in. Maybe like finalizing an item. I'm just trying to think, like if you've got like Moonstone plus another healing item, and then you're trying to buy Dawn Core, you better have like a couple and extra components on the way in terms of building the item. So that would be nice. But that's like the only real convenience of the situation. Being able to put control wards in an extra slot is not exactly anything too crazy or exciting. So actually, I'm actually really disappointed that Riot hasn't done more with this to make supports a little bit more interesting. I think they played it very safe here, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed it's not a little bit more exciting, if I'm honest. The other roles seem to have much more exciting stuff, so it is what it is. So yeah, Blood Petals, Attican, feats are all going away. Which means also that Baron will now be spawning at 20 minutes, I'm assuming now, instead of 25. So yeah, none of that kind of like weird, like, you know, big bot fights with a dragon, all that kind of stuff like that. So game flow should be a little bit more simpler to back how it used to be, rather than being frantic about worrying about Attic and all that stuff. Drakes are going to be tankier. So those fights should last a little bit longer, I think, rather than dragons just like dying like really quickly. So we'll see how that goes. Also, it seems the same with Elder Dragon as well. It seems that overall the dragon should be tankier. Some stuff happened to Void Grubs here as well. And I was just going to read this because I'm not familiar with this one actually. Void Grubs have generally been an epic monster camp that's more about getting yourself ahead and rewarding the whole team for running over to assist in the takedown. With this season's increased focus on pushing turrets, we think the buff already rewards that playstyle strongly, but we want to reduce the pressure on having whole teams roam up for grubs. That's basically talking about supports here. We also want to make it easier for laners to run over to take a single Void Grub and then leave back to their lane. To accomplish these goals, we're concentrating the gold reward purely on the killer of each monster and retuning the rewards to be more in line with our goals for camps like these. We're also reducing the camp's damage and also make them less scary for non-junglers to engage with. As with most other epic monsters, the durability is increasing as well. So they may be making it easy so like top laner could like maybe solo these or something, or solo take one or something without too much hassle. Is the effect just still going to be the same? Grubs now deal 50% more damage to non-champions. So from what they haven't said, like the turret pushing potential here is any different. I'm not sure this is going to stop people from coming up to take them though. Surely people, I'm sure the meta is still going to be like, if you were aware in season 2025, it was like you would recall roughly about 30 seconds before these were going to spawn, maybe a minute before, depending on the timing, and then you would get wards around and then try and like, you know, pull the objective, and if they're not going to contest, then you'd recall straight away, go back to bot side. If there was going to be a fight, then you'd fight over it, then go back down bot lane. The only downside from doing that now is that your AD carry would get punished more in terms of doing the quest, but as I said, like if you're getting reward for taking plates and stuff still, so I don't know, it feels a bit kind of like, I guess like if your AD carry is really not going to be okay handling 1v2, maybe they don't have a wave clear, maybe they're not playing something like Civ or Misfortune ulti or something like that just to clear out like 1 or 2 waves like really quickly, then maybe you'll get punished more through the quest system if you do roam up for grubs. So maybe that's the kind of like idea here with Riot. So we'll just have to see how that plays out in games and what the meta ends up kind of end up being. Rift Herald. Nothing else really there to mention. I think we'll just skip through some of these. Attican spawns to no longer spawns. Okay. So yes, Baron's now spawning back again at level 20. That's all good. Right. Anything else here to say? Nope. Nope. Let's find some more support things. Phalites and vision changes. Phalites are a new feature that we're introducing to improve the vision system. They appear as rings of glowing mushrooms on the ground, some present at game start and some upon the elemental rift transformation. When you place a ward on the ring, it will temporarily reveal a nearby area of the map, which is not revealed to the enemies unless they use a detector effect or ping the ward directly. These were designed with a few goals in mind. First, we want wards to be more usable for enabling plays like a split push, even if the support isn't nearby to provide multiple wards. Right, because sometimes, for example, I would like roam. I would see that my top laner is like wanting, you know, as the game goes on, like mid to late game, they're wanting to push like bot side because they've got TP to go up to Baron when Baron spawns. I would sometimes like put a couple of wards to enable them that split push, so then they're aware if like 3 people are going to be running down towards bot side that they could get out. This change seems to imply that there's mushrooms on the ground, so if my top laner were to put a ward there, which is interesting because top laners, I believe the meta for top laners is to take oracles. So this will maybe make them take normal ward instead of oracle. So that's going to be the downside for them for doing if they do this. They would have to invest that ward trinket into a brush with the mushrooms in, and then that will give them vision elsewhere. So we'll see. Unless it's like saying the support then puts the put in mushrooms, and then it gives vision on the completely opposite side of the map. So it means that I could put a ward in a mushroom brush near Baron, and then that reveals an area near bot side like blue buff if we're pushing in like that way. So maybe it's something like that. Okay. Second, we want the vision game to be more approachable while still rewarding good decision making and strategic skill. This is why the island brush locations near side lanes are simple feel good spots to ward during the laning phase. The island brush locations. Do you mean like the pixel brush? I'm not sure why they didn't. I'm assuming they mean like the pixel brush in the river, the little tiny brush in the river. But the areas for the center of the map are sparser and less powerful. You know what? I don't necessarily agree with this sentence, by the way. The areas towards the center of the map are sparser and less powerful. I've always said the most powerful ward is like when the tier 1 tower is down in particular. Like at the enemy tier 1 tower roughly area is like the best ward in the entire game. Because you can see rotations really easy. You can see if like the enemy team are going to deviate into, you know, either side of the map to make plays on that side. You can see potential wave clear approaches, like if 2 or 3 people are about to storm down mid to wave clear it and then make a move from that. You can see like a lot of anticipation play from that. So I don't necessarily agree with that sentence, but okay. It's also why the system still forces you to make strategic decisions about when and how to use limited ward trinket resources, rather than resembling a plant or hexgate, for example. Okay, as I said, I don't really necessarily agree with that statement. Third, we want to ensure the vision system has interesting mechanics to promote healthy new vision dynamics. Enable split pushes without turbocharging jungle invades. This is why each location has its own tuning levers like location, elemental, rift delay. I guess we're just gonna have to see how this plays out in terms of this mushroom stuff. I'm assuming this will probably get balanced and changed as the season goes on. I'm sure there's going to be some mushroom spots that are going to be really, really powerful. I wonder if they're going to be like the same in every game, like the same like locations every game, or it's going to be like randomly generated in terms of like roughly in like some set locations. Like sometimes they'll spawn here, other games they don't, and then they do again. So it'd be really interesting to see how this whole mushroom vision things. So as a support, keep an eye on this, and I'll give more information as I get my hands on this more. But yeah, placing a ward makes the ward a Fey-like super ward. So you get an extra 25% vision radius to the ward, which actually is massive. Yeah, so you're going to get a lot more vision from the ward actually. Reveal a bonus vision region for 45 seconds. That's a really long time too. It's like, yeah, that's huge too. So whatever area that reveals could potentially be really helpful. It depends on how big the vision area is as well. It could be like if it's in like a tiny area, then it's not going to be as useful. But if it's like a massive like kind of clairvoyance kind of like you know, like a Ash Hawk shot, her E giving that amount of vision around, then that's going to be significant. The bonus vision region is not affected by the type of ward being used, so control wards don't enhance it. This duration is represented by a countdown circle visual on the ward. The bonus vision region can see into the brush if the brush is in the region shape. The bonus vision region can see into brush. Oh, I see. So if you can see that area, you can see anything inside the brush as well. There's going to be a nerf to a couple of champions potentially, like fiddlesticks and things like that. Enemies will know they're in the bonus region while their team has a detector super effect within the region. I wonder how that's going to be represented. Enemies will know they're in the bonus region if their team has ping tracked the ward directly. Okay. All Fey-like super ward buffs are suppressed while the ward has near sight. So that's if you've got like a popped in oracles or put another control ward in, I believe. And removed when the ward dies. If your team already has a ward on the Fey-like, that ward will be destroyed to make room for the new. So yeah. Be quite funny because yeah, sometimes at the situation where you have like you're playing the AD carry and both of you ward the same brush. If both of you ward the same mushroom patch, one of those wards is gonna die. For the sake of vision score, the ward has a 25% score mod, or whatever. Don't care about vision score. There's one near each base gate, providing vision into the nearby jungle. Okay, so that's going to be quite useful. So if you are behind, particularly if you're down to your tier 3 turrets and you're struggling in your base, you put a ward in that, enemy teams will be looking to make sure that they clear any wards in those mushroom pits, I guess. But you'll be able to see into your jungle to see if it's okay to go out towards like Dragon to contest it, or to Baron, I guess. One in each island brush near top and bot, providing vision into river. So that's going to be quite a heavily contested area. Then those mushroom spots are going to be quite interesting, actually. Okay, right. Something to keep. One in each banana brush as well. Okay, so that's like near Dragon basically as well. Okay, yeah, that sounds like it could be a fun another mini game and some areas of contention. I'm guessing supports in particular, supports and junglers are going to be wanting to look at those spots more than anyone else, kind of like scuttles in a way. Red's goals are meant to be delivered by a mix of phthalates themselves and other vision changes working in tandem. First, we're buffing the cooldown of yellow trinkets so non-supports are more readily able to access that vision. Okay, so I mean, are people actually going to use those though? We're also buffing the duration of red trinket to those trying to bypass clear. Okay, they're buffing the duration. Oh, thank God. Okay, so one of my biggest complaints last season is people would get deep ward and it would be so annoying to like try and kill multiple. You wouldn't be able to kill multiple wards with that. So the oracles, you might actually have a chance or a little bit more grace on killing that one ward with 4 HP. But yeah, that's nice that that's the thing. I will say overall it's a nerf to supports though once again, because A, Oracle's duration is longer, B, stealth wards for everyone else also are reduced in cooldown, so it means that the supports wards that we're getting for free through our quest is now like not as good compared to the free ones you get from trinkets anyway. So yeah, so another support nerf, and we haven't even got through anything really substantial really at the moment. So yeah, that's nice. Okay, I think we've kind of talked about most of these things here. Okay. We're returning home guard to be generally faster, reducing dead time in the game flow. So if you die early, you can get back into lane quicker. Okay. In this season, we want to crystalline overgrowth. In this season, we want to encourage a wider variety of strategic play. In particular, we're interested in making lanes pushes better in situations outside of Baron buff. Part of this, this is the thing where they're making turrets weaker. So let's get into it. Part of this is addressing the reward incentives, but another part is addressing the actual ability to make damage progress on turrets, even if turrets are worth more. There are many situations where you just don't have the time or DPS needed to make meaningful turret progress. Crystalline Overgrowth is a new mechanic on turrets to enable that damage progress, essentially saying, what if every champ had an accessible demolish-like tool to enable small pushes? Over the course of several minutes, crystals will begin automatically forming up on turrets. When a champion hits that turret, the overgrowth will burst, dealing bonus true damage based on how much overgrowth has accumulated. It's not based on the attacker's stats, nor do they need to stay near the turret for long. The tuning here is meant to be useful whether you're pushing fairly frequently or only hit turrets a couple of times per game. Okay, so it's just basically they're trying to speed up the gameplay. They're trying to make games a bit quicker. So overall, this could potentially mean that later game champions... It's quite interesting actually. So later game champions are nerfed from this effect because it can make games end quicker because turrets are dying quicker. Which is odd in a way because there are quests in the game now that are making people at level 20, and that's like super late game, I would imagine, even though they're getting XP buffs like the top laner through the quest. like AD carries getting 7 items. Once again, that must be like super late game, even though they're getting a bit more gold generation from minions. It's still going to take a substantial amount of time. So it's quite interesting how on one side they want games to be quicker, but the quests are like kind of saying the opposite. They're saying like, if you get to late game, you're going to be even more powerful than ever. So I guess how fast are we getting to late game now is the real question, because how are they going to make up for that gold to get and experience to get to that late game stage even quicker? And how is that going to affect champions that stack, for example? So at level 18, the damage range is 8 to 18% of the turrets and max health in... Okay. Right, so if I'm getting the vibe that... Oh, Demolish is getting buffed, am I reading that right? No, Demolish is getting slightly... So the cooldown on Demolish is going down significantly, but the damage on Demolish is going down a little bit to make up for the crystalline overgrowth. But like if you're a split pusher at Demolish, this is like kind of like a dream, isn't it? You go into topside, you get the tier 2 top with your Demolish, and there's some crystals on that turret. Okay, cool, you get that. And then you switch down to top bot side where there's even more crystals on the bot side turret, and then you like push that one in. And so yeah, I don't know, this is like a split pusher's top laner's wet dream, this patch, it seems like. But okay. Game time start. Oh, the game minions spawn at 30 seconds now. So invading really early is gonna be difficult, especially when some people, even myself included at times, AFK for like the first 10 seconds getting into the game, quickly going grabbing a drink or whatever. So yeah, so they want games to be quick. I think they've realized that game length is just going on for way too long. So nothing like what it used to be back in season 1 and season 2 where we had like 70-minute games, but they I think they want the game time to be reduced down to about that maximum kind of like 30-minute mark, it feels like here. Maybe 35 minutes, like absolutely kind of like most really is what they're looking like they're aiming for, from what I can see from this. So yeah, because I know people, for example, even in TFT were complaining about the game length going on for too long, and then they're having to like whittle that down. So I can see the same effect here happening with League. Oh, okay, here's some actually... I was going to skip through this, but there's some actually interesting changes to do with turrets here that are going to affect everyone. So the outer turrets... Though turret plates are now permanent, we like that outer turret durability changes over game time, becoming frailer as the game progresses, so its resistances and value drop in the mid-game, rewarding players who can press the lead early on, but still leaving a moderate amount of gold for those who've never had early pressure. Okay, so they're actually just leaving the turret plates up. I guess it's to help people do their quests as well, I'm presuming. Because the people that on some of those quests, it specifically says like if you kill a plate then you get X amount of points, but like if the plates were to fall off at 14 minutes you would be really punished. Like if you're playing bot side up against like Caitlyn Lux and you're playing like, I don't know, 2 champions that are just going to get absolutely owned at the first part of laning phase because of double poke, you'd be missing out presumably on a good chunk of points there towards your quest, and you wouldn't be able to get those plates necessarily. So this is going to make it so like, okay, well you didn't get those plates pre 14 minutes, so you're going to lose out on a bit of extra gold there, but getting those plates, you'll still be able to get the point contribution that you would have otherwise missed out on. So I can see why they're leaving the plates up for that reason. Okay. Tier 2 and Tier 3s are receiving turret plates in order to reward partial progress. Now crashing a minion wave and dealing a couple thousand damage will pay you for pushing up and incurring that risk. Okay, so they want people to they're encouraging people to try and overextend after you got that Tier 1 tower down to go for the Tier 2, which would normally be a noob trap, but now they want you to try and get plates off the Tier 2 Like, so you go, oh, okay, if we push in maybe one more wave, we can get one plate off the tier 2, and that's going to get me a bit closer to my quest, or that's going to actually like finish my quest. So we should push for that, and then, you know, all the minions that I'm going to get from now on are going to get more gold. So I hope there's a way to ping the quest so that AD carry can like, or you can track other players' quests, particularly on your team, to see like, okay, if my AD carry gets this plate, then it's going to be really worth it, and if we get away with it, it's going to be like, we're going to be so far ahead. Or if it's like, you know, yeah, we have to be able to see that. So it'd be interesting, hopefully, in game, we'll be able to. Nexus turrets are a special case due to their unique location just far inside the bases. They've already have partial kill rewards due to their health regeneration mechanics. Not doing much on the durability front, however, we are leaving them weaker on respawn. So it's never an optimization to leave the turret at low HP instead of actually destroying it. The respawning turrets are valuable in order so that a defending team eventually leave their base, but it shouldn't ever be wrong to kill them. Yeah, because that would be sometimes the case where it'd be like, you might as well just leave the turret like really low, and then recall, and then go back for another push like very shortly afterwards, because otherwise you'd have to deal with the turret respawning, and then you have to get it back on full HP, and that could like take way too long. There's definitely been some niche cases where I think that's been an issue, but yeah, okay, it's interesting that they've trying to balance out the respawning Nexus turrets. In order to create more windows for successful, they're really going on the pushing. Like, top lane is split pushing. This, as I said, this is a split pushing wet dream, man. We're increasing the rate of minion wave spawns in the mid and late game in order to not balloon the amount of golden experience given by these more frequent waves. We're pruning the occasional melee minion out of the mid game and reducing the value of super minions and cannon minions. We've also made cannons slightly stronger by increasing their attack damage over game time and clarifying that there are special rules for them in particular. Okay. So you're gonna... So surely like wave clearing and split pushing is going to be such a big thing this patch. I'm already thinking like... I feel bad for any champion. Like, in a way, this is like a little bit of a nerf to assassins, I guess, at the start of the season. Assassins that can't necessarily wave clear quickly, maybe that could be an issue. I don't know. Is there any assassins that can't wave clear quickly? I don't know. But like, if your wave clear is like bad, like if you're playing Jhin, for example, this season is gonna suck. Surely, but there's gonna be so many more waves that you're gonna have to keep clearing and clearing and clearing. Like Jhin is like one of the worst AD carriers in doing that. I just imagine that's gonna be like the worst. But interestingly, because of wave clear situations, this could be an actual minor buff to AP supports, because AP supports are actually generally pretty good at wave clearing. I think you like champions like Zyra, Lux, Mel, Xerath. Those are champions that are really good at wave clearing. Like if you come out from a team fight and it's been like, you know, 3 for 3, but only 2 people alive on each team. Like if the enemy team has like a Sona and you're playing like Lux, well, you're just gonna, obviously the wave clearing power on your team is so much more higher, and if there's this amount of minions, that by the time the enemy respawns, they're gonna have to deal with a big power ball in one lane of so many minions that they're gonna have no choice but to answer, and then your team can maybe play for an objective. So that actually could be an interesting situation for mid to late game for AP support players. Something to think about, maybe. With every champion's base crit damage being increased back to 200% this season, well, so the only champion that's going to affect is what, Senna for us in terms of support. But also, if AD carries are basically going to get stronger, particularly with crit strike, then that's basically buffed every single Enchanter support. Already thinking of champions like Yuumi, Lulu, Janna. Basically anyone that can benefit from like attack speed potentially as well would be pretty huge. Like Ardent Sensor users. I know there's meant to be some more support items coming in this patch, so I think this is basically a minor buff towards enchanters, assuming that the AD carries are actually good enough to benefit from playing with an enchanter. Otherwise, maybe if you're in an ELO where you don't trust AD carries as much, then you might be better off playing an EP for that wave clear that we were talking about just a little bit earlier. Lots of the 80 carry changes here and balancing and stuff like that. Looks like most champions, in particular, so that have crit in their kit, are getting changed a little bit there. What are they doing so small though in terms of scaling? No, just all crit, all these crit changes. Senna. Like Jin, Yasuo, Yone, Senna's guaranteed crits cannot sustain a 2x modifier, so lowering their base crit. Okay, I mean, I'm sure this is still probably a slight buff to Senna overall, but interesting to see what that's like in terms of a damaging Senna. Okay, so we've got some new items this season, and I think they're returning some items as well. Made at least one item for each class, focusing on subclasses that have less existing itemization support. So make sure that every subclass has a healthy number of satisfying items for champions to buy. Dusk and Dawn. Most AP fighters have incentives in their kit to auto-attack, but they have very little access to items that actually support that pattern, since Lichbane and Nash's Tooth don't offer the defensive stats that subclasses need often. Dusk and Dawn offers a sheen pattern that doubles on hits to help champions in this space live their dreams of sustained combat with lots of additional on hits to enhance whatever their kit is already doing. After using ability, your next attack applies magical and applies on-hit effects an additional time. On-hit effects an additional time. Just trying to think if there's anything in terms of the support role. On-hit effects an additional time. Nothing's like really springing to mind. If you can think of anything, let me know in the comments section down below. Like, there aren't really any sheen users in the support role. No, I can't think of anything then. But let me know if you do. Fiend Hunter Bolts. When a marksman looks at Zeal marksman. Okay, I don't think we need to look at that. Yeah, we don't need to look at that. Endless Hunger. War Drinker, Removal Omnivamp. When a champion eat damage within 3 seconds dies, gain a 15% Omnivamp. No, we don't care about that. Bastion Breaker. 80 carry Assassins. Dealing ability damage to a champion or epic monster deals an additional bunch of lethality. Taking down a champion within 3 seconds of damaging them grants Sabotage for 90 seconds while you have Sabotage. Your next attack against an epic monster or turret deals an additional bunch of damage. The only thing that's going to benefit would be Pike. So that could end up being a Pike item. It's very expensive there at 3.2k gold. So it could be not worth it for Pike necessarily, unless it's like some sort of super split pushing Pike where you're also trying to focus on turrets. So it's probably not really something that supports will be really looking at. Actualizer. It's been a while, but we've got a new active item. This one made to support mana stacking builds. To create more builds where mana isn't just a limitation, but instead make it so that it can be advantage to have large amounts of mana available to you. Activating Actualizer significantly increases your mana cost in exchange for lower cooldowns and more ability damage, healing, and shielding. So you get your mana items ready for a very powerful pop-off moment. 3.1k gold, 90 ability power, 300 mana, 10 of haste. Haste is quite low there, but I'm assuming it's going to be empowered by this active. For 8 seconds, 60-second cooldowns. So basically, you'd be popping it for one team fight. You know, for at the start of every team fight, basically. Your spells cost 100% more mana. You gain bonus mana. Wait, or increased ability damage, healing, and shooting, and your basic ability cooldowns progress 30% faster. Just trying to think, like, what I mean. Sona is the first one that comes to mind. You're probably building a tier on Sona, so you're gonna have a lot of mana anyway. The only problem with this is it's just like, unless you're already wanting to build a tier anyway, Like this wouldn't really help Tarek, for example. Like Tarek's another big tier user. Like you wouldn't care about having healing cooldown, at least anyway, which seems to be a big emphasis on this item because you could proc it with just auto attacks anyway. So Sona could be a big user here. I feel like Soraka's W is a really low cooldown anyway. She wouldn't need this. Janna. Janna maybe. I mean, it depends on like this percentage bonus combo. You'd spam shields a bit more. I don't know. I'm thinking like Nami as well could be interesting. You could maybe get a couple like extra bubbles in a fight, maybe a couple of extra E's on different targets. I'm having a real tough time struggling with this would be placed because it's like also the cost of the item is really expensive, 3.1k. If you're going tier already, you're going for Zerefs, which I believe is what close to that anyway. This is like a really expensive item, so you're going like tier. I almost feel like this isn't even a support item just because of how purely expensive this is. This is like really, really high cost. Like if you're already going tier build on Sona into Zeref, it's a really high mana cost. I almost feel like this is like a build like if you're already going mid with like Rod of Ages, Serifs, and then this. I can imagine this being quite good on like Veigar, for example. You could get like an extra cage maybe in a team fight quite quickly, which would be really important. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this in terms of actual support usage. I think I will probably try it a little bit. Maybe, What about like Lux? Or Morgana? Now, those are some more interesting champions. It wouldn't be too difficult to stack up a tier, for example. But then could you think about like the binding chains that you could get off in a fight? Or even like on Melt, like anyone like the roots, the AoE roots, that you could probably do some interesting forever CCs like that. If the enemy hasn't got like tenacity. Maybe that's what it's more for. Crowd control spammage rather than baited by this healing and shielding potentially, maybe. I don't know. This doesn't feel quite right for like a true Enchanter kind of build apart from Sona. But once again, the price tag is really expensive. So yeah, I'll try it in Sona, but I don't even know if we're going to get there, to be honest, in terms of the price. Crit marksman build. Okay, let's move on. Bandle pipes. Tank supports didn't have very many items. This is true. This has been one of my complaints for a super long time. There's like Locket, Knight's Vow, Abyssal Mask. Like those are like the main three items I think of when I'm playing like support, and then everything else is just like Zeke's is kind of eh. Like there's so many kind of like meh tank items on the support role, and then it's like this. And if you want to buy anything actually tanky, it's so expensive. Like I'm already looking at the price tag here. 2,000 gold is much better. But anyway, let's see what it actually does. Is it giving them a team-wide attack speed aura you can keep up in fights as long as you're able to frequently apply crowd control to your enemies. Aww. Health, armor, magic resistance, ability haste. Fan flare. Slowing or immobilizing an enemy champion grants fanfare for 8 if you're melee, 4 if you're ranged seconds. Fanfare grants movement speed. While you have fanfare, nearby allies, including yourself, gain 20% range attack speed. Including yourself? Well, that's affecting all allies. Wait, surely this is just like a... This is like a much better version of Ardent. Would these stack? Hold on. Could you like go Ardent and Bandle Pipe? Just already thinking like Ardent, Bandle Pipes... Like, something like Nami would be able to, like, the slowing effect procs it. Like, okay, it only lasts 4 seconds, but, like, Nami, like, E has multiple charges, so you're slowing constantly, you've got loads of crowd control on Nami, for example. This wouldn't be, like, an unreasonable item to pick up at all. Like, say if the enemy has lots of assassins, you have, like, an AD carry that is a bit more auto-attack based. Like, picking up this item gives you armor magic resistance to negate any penetration that the enemy team has. Get a little bit more health for yourself. This is really, really cheap at 2,000, by the way. That's like really cheap. And then you're giving everyone kiting mobility around you. You're giving everyone attack speed. Like once again, it's slightly low because you're at range, but I think this is... I'm not even thinking about tank support. I'm thinking like enchanters already. But I think in tank supports, this is perfectly reasonable and fine to take because it's a really cheap item. Because now it's like, okay, well, it's not completely garbage that I'm playing Leona with a Jinx, for example. Because like Jinx would normally want like a Lulu to buff the attack speed and stuff. But like, you've got like a mini Lulu W at all times whenever you're crowd controlling someone. That actually makes tank supports kind of a bit more friendly rather than just playing with burst AD carries like Samira. So yeah, I think this is nice. And the movement speed is nice. It's going to help, like when you engage in, it's going to speed everyone up, so is everyone else. So it's going to be interesting to see the range, because it's like, if you're playing this on Alistair, if you go in and engage, is your teammates going to get the aura? Is the aura, is the radius on that going to be too low? Whereas if you're engaging with a Leona ulti, you're generally with someone nearby on your team anyway, so they're going to get sped up, and then you can like move in together onto that. So already like Leona's better. Anyone with a hook is better than necessarily someone that's going to commit in, and then your allies might not get clipped by the aura because you've gone in too far. So that's the only downside I can see potentially. I just hope the radius on this is like quite big. So yeah. Protoplasm Harness. This is also quite a cheap item at 2.5k. Offers them a lifeline item that has some movement speed and tenacity to enable a choice. Do you want to keep going forward, or do you want to try and leave the fight? If you're tanky enough to survive, you can even get the full benefits from the healing over time this item grants. So what is this? Health, Kindle Gem, Giant's Butt. It's just pure health item with haste. Okay. Taking damage that would reduce your health below 30% causes you to gain 200 maximum health for 5 seconds. Then heal based on your level. So it's not as good as support, but you get armor and magic resistance, like percentage, over the duration more. This is like really good on Leona. So it gives you 250% armor and magic resist on someone like Leona for someone who gets a lot of armor and magic resistance from popping W. Anyway. While regenerating health, you're getting 15% increased size, 10% movement speed, and 25% tenacity. Like, yeah. I don't know. I think Leon is eating quite well this patch, don't you think? Like, those two items alone seem really, really good on her. And they're really cheap. So, yeah. Maybe we'd be saying goodbye to Locket. Like, the only way I can see go and Locket guaranteed first time is if they have lots of burst in the team. But I'm already seeing, like, Protoplasm Harness being a good item to pick up early on of playing Leona. I think Leona's looking... She's eating well this patch. Enchanter items. This is a 2-item pair for enchanters. A new evolving tier item. Okay, so this might help enable you to pivot into Actualizer then, because but this does cost a lot of money, but we'll see. Wish they kind of started off with this tier item. Some enchanters really like mana, and some even step into the mage system to get it. So we're offering a new item that allows them to get flat mana from the enchanter system, but also scales with additional mana purchases if anyone does want to get into a heal-based mana stacking build. Forbidden Idol, okay. Ruby Crystal, Tira, okay. 850 gold. Okay, so it's like, yeah, it's okay priced for a support. No defense stats really apart from health, just like pure mana and healing. Harmony. Gain percent healing shield power based on your bonus mana. Okay. Landing abilities grants mana, transforms into Diadem of Songs at 360. Diadem of Songs. While you or any ally you've healed or shielded in the last few seconds is in combat with champions, each second heal the lowest health nearby ally champion. I'm assuming that will then also increase if you have this item, this Diadem of Songs, in combination with Actualizer. When you're popping this mana made real, the healing increase from this will also synergize with the Diadem of Songs. So yeah, I mean, like, Sona's already like looking at this item already. So this is like a much cheaper version of Ceres. My only issue with this item is it's like it says like supports need. There are some supports that are really like some enchanters really like mana. The only one I can really think of that really likes mana is Sona. Like the other mages, they get enough mana regeneration from picking up normal support items anyway. Like it's quite rare, like after the first bit of laning phase, where it's like, okay, I'm having mana issues. Like Soraka has no mana issues. They buffed her base mana regeneration, so she doesn't really have mana issues anyway. The like Nami, for example, has mana issues until she goes back and gets a a fairy charm. The real question is, the actual question that we should be asking ourselves is, do we want to not have Moonstone? Because that's basically what it comes down to. Are we happy not going for Moonstone, and instead of going like Moonstone, we're going Diadem of Songs into Actualizer, which costs quite a bit of money, which is like same price as a Dawn Core, I believe. That's even more expensive than a Dawn Core. This is really expensive. I don't know if this works, if this price tag. It's just too bloody expensive. If this was like 2.7k and some of these stats reduced, this would work. Like Diadem of Songs is a good item, right? This is a good item if you are particularly liking to spam spells a lot, which is basically Sona. As I said, Soraka doesn't really have mana issues. Nami doesn't really have mana issues, honestly. But by the time you get to Diadem of Songs, you've already got a Moonstone, and you've already got another Fairy Charm anyway, and you've already completed your support item by that point anyway. Like, you don't have mana issues really at that point anyway. I'm just trying to think of any other support here, like Janna's not exactly spamming shield on corner. The only thing I think of, like, this would help if you're playing like Janna and you love mashing Q whenever it's off cooldown, because that would drain your mana like crazy. That's like the only thing I can think of apart from Sona. Quite interesting, like how the cinematic of the season is like focused a bit on Sona, and it's like there's all these tier items and Enchanter items for Sona. But honestly, I can't think of a reason to pick this item up necessarily on. I think I would rather have Moonstone than Diadem, because I think that's the sacrifice you have to make. This would be your first item completion. I don't know. I'd have to test and get a feel of how much harmony gives here, for example, and stuff, and how much, you know, the consonants. Is that how you pronounce that? I don't know. I'm not fully sure about it, honestly. Hextech Gunblade is coming back into the game. It hasn't active. This isn't going to help us that much as support. Storm Razor, that's an AD item, coming back into the game. Unending Despair. Tank item, relatively expensive. Probably not for any supports that are going to be taking that. Aegis of the Legion's now being removed. Okay. Horizon Focus was an interesting item that was getting taken a little bit on some supports. I can't remember who. Oh, I was taking this on Nami. I went for a phase of testing this on Nami because it would reveal champions on your E. Like if you buff your your AD carry and they hit someone, it would do the reveal effect. That's kind of neat. But I decided in the end not to go into it. The price is the same basically. The amount of AP has gone down dramatically. Dealing ability damage to champions at 600 range or more units from the cast reveals them. Now, no, okay, now it doesn't do that. Dealing ability damage to champions at 600 range or greater, reveals them for 6 seconds. Deal 10% increased damage to enemies revealed by Hypershot. Is that for everyone or just for the user? That's not that clear. When Hypershot is triggered, reveal all other enemy champions within 1.4k range. This is like a utility, kind of like spotting out stuff like fiddlesticks and maybe like if there's a nocturne nearby and that kind of stuff. I could see a very, very, very niche situation where I would pick this up on enemy again, but that ability nerf is scary. You're playing it for full utility and then the 10% increased damage for enemies revealed by Hypershot. If that doesn't benefit, if this benefits your whole team, this could actually be an interesting support item. For AP supports, for Nami. If this is only for the user, then this item is not going to be used for supports. Do 10% increased damage to him. Yeah, so I think if you have to have Horizon Focus in order to deal with 10% increased damage. But I think this item is not really going to be great on supports then, unless it's like you are trying to find that fiddlesticks. It's too niche, I think. Echoes of Hylia was intended to help fill in the space between Enchanter and Mage system, but ended up being too far towards the Enchanter space. I didn't quite fill that space. We're making it more synergistic with Mage items and more accessible, making it less necessary to be spamming both heals and shields. So what's the change? Price is still low. Gain 35% of pre-mitigation damage dealt to champions as soul charges. Healing or shielding ally consume these charges. Why didn't they show a comparison in terms of what they changed? Honestly, I wasn't a massive lover of Echoes of Hylia. There were some cases on Milio. I would take it, knowing that I would probably be auto-attacking a lot as well to help proc it off. But in general, I was never really a fan of Echoes of Hylia anyway. I'm not sure. They haven't done the comparison here, so it's really hard to see. But that just doesn't interest me that much if I'm completely honest. Like if I'm playing Enchanter, I'd rather just go pure into the Enchanter options like Moonstone, Dawncore. Even the new tier item is more interesting than this in my opinion. Umbral Glaive is tailored to fit supports, but what are they doing to it? They're increasing the gold cost. After being unseen by enemies for 1 second, your next attack against a champion. Okay, so they are still making it easier to take wards down if you have Umbral Glaive, but they've increased the cost. So if you are playing against a Pike, or if you are playing Pike, for example, this item is going to be a bit harder for you to buy. When you're near an enemy, stealth wards and traps, reveal them for 8 seconds. While revealing wards, your attacks deal more damage to them. I don't really know what they've done to it. They're trying to make it so that junglers and mid laners are more able to have a bit more access to it by buffing the stats up a little bit, maybe? Not sure really what they've done. I mean, I'm glad they nerfed the blackout on this anyway, because this used to be 60 seconds, I think, and that was disgusting. Redemption is getting nerfed. Giving ability power on it and taking the health off. Wait, what? So it's going to make... Okay, so basically they say that they were sick of tank supports picking up Redemption, particularly in pro play. So they're basically saying, like, if you're playing tank support and you're going Redemption, you're getting no health benefit from this, but you're getting AP. To maybe cater it more towards playing, like, Enchanters. They're reducing the gold cost by 50 as well. So I'd say the Redemption overall, if you're playing like, you know, if you're a normal support that likes picking up Redemption, you're like playing like Soraka and stuff like that. I think this is like a a minor buff. A minor redemption buff for enchanters. Zeke's. Yeah, I agree. Zeke sucks, so they're buffing it, so they're giving it more ultimate ability haste. So a little bit more tank support love there. So Zeke's getting more ultimate haste. So if you are, once again, Leona seems to be a big tank support theme for this one. Like, having more ultimate haste on your Leona or engage is really nice. Whereas on Thresh, for example, you don't really care as much if your ultimate has haste. Rel likes ultimate haste, I would say. I mean, Tarek has a really long ult cast, but I don't necessarily know if he'd go into Zeke still, though. Probably not. Trying to think of other supports that would care about ultimate haste, but Blitzcrank doesn't really care. Nautilus might like this, actually. Nautilus also can be quite impactful, kind of long as well. Yeah, so Nautilus, Leona, looking into the realm of those kind of champions for these buffs. Mirror Mana and Fimbulwinter are getting mana buffs. And I think we're getting to the end here now of the patch notes. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else too much to talk about here now. I think that's everything. Expect, I guess, in the... Yeah, that's everything. As all the things. ARAM Mayhem is staying, I think. I think they were going to get rid of ARAM Mayhem, but they're keeping that in for the ARAM enjoyers. But yeah, basically, that's it. So it's more system changes coming into this patch rather than individual champion nerfs and buffs. I'm sure if there's anything too crazy, they will do nerfs the first few days. But if they do any nerfs, it will be towards probably AD carry or top lane, mid lane quest nerfs, and or specific nerfs to champions that are affected by those crit changes, like the AD carries. So if anything like crazy comes through that, those are the champions that are probably get nerfed, won't really affect support that much. So, very quick TLDR on the rundown. All turrets will have plates. Everyone's going to have quests. Your AD carry might flame you more than usual for roaming because your AD carry is going to be wanting to complete those quests. You might be encouraged also to overextend into tier 2 turrets to get those plates, because if, for example, your AD carry is killing turret plates on their same lane, because what you would normally actually have, as you're thinking about it, like normally you'd like, if you take down your bot turret, then you would roam, right? Your AD carry and yourself would necessarily like usually go into mid to get that mid priority to maybe like play around those objectives. Well, with this change, you might say, oh, I might actually just stay bot lane a bit longer and get those plates off a bit quicker so that my AD carry can get the quest completed a bit quicker. We're also going to have those mushrooms also for vision to help see like a bit deeper, safer potentially as well. But yeah, it seems like wave clearing, split pushing is going to be a big theme this patch. Couple of okay support new items coming in. Looks like Sona is probably going to be an enjoyer of this patch. With the tier item, it'll be interesting to test that out. We have maybe like a Leona buff with that the bagpipes item, particularly increasing the magic and armor percentage by a massive amount. Could be interesting with that of the W, and anyone, if you can maybe tie that in with demolish timer as well. Not demolish, sorry, aftershock timer. That could be quite interesting too. Yeah. So and you know, like in a way, as I said about the wave clearing thing, AP supports mid to late game may be getting buffed if they're the ones to survive a team fight, and cause some side lane pressure while building up to an objective. But yeah, overall, in terms of the actual like the quest system, just feel like support's got the short end of the stick. In fact, I think technically got kind of nerfed a little bit from the quests. You would have think like, everyone's getting quests, everyone's having fun, apart from you supports where you basically kind of got nerfed compared to everyone else getting considerably stronger as the game goes on, whereas you get a bank slot for wards and the control wards are a little bit cheaper. So Yeah, it does feel like we've just been, I don't know, sidelined a little bit there. I think they try to make up for it with some of those items, but those items aren't super appealing, if I'm honest. Yeah. Anything else to add, really? Nothing. I think the funny thing is like, I'm thinking of like memes that have happened across the years, right? And the memes are like the supports that have the AD carries on a leash. And they're the ones in control of the laning phase and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, they have the power to leave lane and stuff like that. I feel like it's kind of like a role reversal now, where it's like the supports more than ever feel like they're tied to the bot lane more than ever and forced to play with their AD carry no matter what in order to get that quest completed. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, don't forget to put your rewards in the mushrooms. That should be interesting. Like, there should be some river contention for those mushrooms as well. So yeah, okay. Well, I hope that was an insightful rundown. As I said, next week I'll do a proper tier list. But yeah, those are my kind of like my theories at the moment. Sona should be interesting to play this patch. Leona with the bagpipes, maybe even Nami with the bagpipes as well, could be quite interesting. And Redemption being a little bit stronger for enchanters as well seems interesting too. Technically, Redemption also stronger on AP supports. So you might be able to fudge that in somehow if we're playing like Zyra. Leandri's Rylai's Redemption Zyra. Maybe. Who knows? We'll have to test that out and have a look. All the best. Good luck in 2026. I hope you got the rank that you wanted in 2025. If you didn't, then, well, maybe I can help you out with the content that I do here, so be sure to subscribe. I'm going to be doing lots of support content, particularly at the start of the season, and I'm going to be live streaming pretty much every day on twitch.tv/Bizzleberry. All the best, take care, berries. Bye-bye. Well, it's a long video, an hour and 6 minutes. Oh my goodness. Right, bye-bye.